Water is an essential and general need in life. All industrial, environmental, and metabolic processes are water dependent. It is safe to say that a day cannot go by without each one of us having the need to use water for one purpose or another. However, water pollution is a major concern in Kenya. Water is said to have been polluted when some of the water quality parameters have been hampered by irregularities from several anthropogenic activities, thus rendering water unfit for intended use. This poses a serious threat to the environment and lives. According to water.org, approximately 40% of Kenyans are still dependent on unsanitary sources of water. These sources consist of, but are not restricted to, stagnant wells, dams, rivers, streams, and ponds, many of which suffer from bacterial contamination and pollution from heavy metal waste. Looking at the statistics of water pollution gives an insight to how highly concerning this situation is in Kenya. Around 84% of the people who don't have access to improved water live in rural areas.
Mi stay hapa ndani, mi uishi hapa juu. But mi hapa hii ndio makazi yangu kila siku. So mi uka hapa, mi utoka hapa kila siku. Nikienda shughuli zangu zingine.
Mbona unaishi huko?
Huko life ni cheap. Naweza kuja natumia free water. Naweza kama kutoka place yote nimedishi niko fiti na kama mtu kulala huko, alafu unajua kuna mtu anaweza kama kuattack ukiwa unaishi hizi area huko ndani. Life is cheaper inside here.
Alafu maji, unakunywa maji kutoka kwa hii mto directly ama unatibu na unatumia maji kwa namna gani?
Kitambo venye maji kuna siku mto ulikuwa na flow maji mingi. That is the time nilikuwa natumia mimi na marafiki zangu. Huku siishi peke yangu, naishi na watu wengi. Ni kama familia, ni kama village yetu, ni kama makazi yetu ni hapa ndani, kwa sababu huku ndani life ni cheap na kila kitu iko sawa. Sasa kuna time tunatumia maji kunywa, but siku hizi venye kumekauka huwa tutumii maji kunywa.
Lakini mnafanyia vitu vingine kama
kuosha nguo, of course, kama unataka kuosha nguo, kama yani tunaitanga hii place tunaitanga bed sitter, self contained. Kwa sababu huku unaweza enda choo huku, unaweza oga hapa tu, unaweza osha nguo zako hapa. Na sisi hapa ndani sisi wote tunapendana, huwezi bia rafiki yako. So huwa sisi unaanika tu nguo zako. Yaani all services are available except food. Unatoka tu kutafuta food yako, but deep down huku ndio unarudingi ukijua huku ndio home. Yaani una maintain sana, unacheza na rada sana, huku ndio home.
Mnakula pia hapa hivi vile tunakaa.
Sio kama beshi zangu, kuna mabeshi zangu wamedishi huko. Yaani huku kila mtu huko ana life yake. Hakuna mtu atakuuliza kitu unadai kukula. As long as ukosee mwenzako unaishi fiti. Ukitaka kukula utakula, of course, unaweza kama na food yako juu. Unaona huko tena breeze ya huko si kama huko juu kumetulia, kuna hiyo baridi na kama kutoka kwa maji. Unaona? Hivi tu siku hizi kumechafuka sana, but kwa sawa huko kuna kuanga sawa time kuna maji.
Hamhisi ni kwamba mna pollute the environment ya maji, mnachafua?
Sasa unajua hata issue sisi hatukuchafua mazingira ama nini. Juu unajua huku ndio makejani, huku ndio place sisi ukaa. Sasa uchafu kama chupa plastic, hiyo ni mambo inaweza tokea tu kwa sababu mmoja wetu amekuja na maji, lakini hata watu ambao waishi hapa ndani na wanachafua maji sana kuliko sisi wenyewe tunaichafua. Kama ile takataka huwezi niambia ni mtu anaishi hapa ndani ameitupa, watu wako juu ndio wameitupa kuja hapa ndani. Sisi tukiwa hapa ni kama wewe huwezi chafua pale unaishi. Utajaribu kutunza pale unaishi so that kwa sababu tena kesho unataka kuishi huko.
Almost 2/3, that's 64% of households rely on women to get their family's water at home. Nearly 1 out of every 5 deaths under the age of 5 in the country is due to a water-related disease. Despite the Ruiru County government constantly trying to show their concern in recognizing the rise in levels of pollution present in some of Ruiru's water-based sources, the problem of human waste and toxins being dumped into freshwater sources has yet to be eliminated. Administrations have failed to invest sufficient resources into waste management facilities such as landfills and recycling centers. For instance, the BBC reported that the director of Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company, Nashon Muguna, suggested that progress made on water development has been slow so far. He recognized that it was going to be difficult for Kenya to adapt to rapidly fluctuating demographic changes, such as population growth, without clean water facilities. Further away, the same issue is also plaguing residents living around Lake Victoria. We caught up with a student from the area to provide more insights into the issue.
From my point of view, I feel like water is one of the mysterious gifts of nature, and it supports and holds life on earth. And even back in the days, our ancestors thought that water was sacred, and they really upheld the value of water into our lives. And also, in our normal daily lives, when we are like planting seeds, a seed won't germinate until you add water. And I think this demonstrates the spirit of water that ignites the production of life. In the past, people recognized and respected bodies of water as their source of spirituality. For example, Lake Victoria, before it was named so by the colonizers, was called Namlolwe, which means the home of spirituality. And body waters were owned and protected by the communities, and people worshipped the spirit of water. All activities relating to water were conducted in accordance with people's customs and traditions. The introduction of Western civilization to Africa changed native people's attitudes and rights to water as a natural source. The sacred relationship between people and water ended with the political governance, and water became like a commodity that was taxed. And then commercial fishing was introduced, and corporates were established to process and supply water for payment. Even the lake back at home has been partitioned into private lands and sold to investors for fishing, and transportation and fishing has been commercialized. And if you see the normal ways that nowadays people use for fishing, it's harmful to water bodies, and it not only affects the animals that live in the water, but it also affects people living around these water bodies because it pollutes the environment. When fishing, these companies and corporations use toxic chemicals that they release into water, and this not only affects the animals that live within the water bodies, but it also affects people that live around these environments. And now when people come to use this water, they get diseases like bilharzia, typhoid, and cholera. And also commercialized transportation within the water bodies has led to water pollution, whereby these motorboats and ships have like oil leakages, fuel spills, and exhaust fumes that not only pollute these water bodies but also pollutes the air around these places. The possible solutions to these issues would be: one, I would say motorboats and ships should try and use renewable sources of energy, e.g. electric, or even natural sources of energy like wind. And then we should create community awareness and educate people on the effects of water pollutions, not just to these water bodies, but to also them. Three, I would say the government should put in laws and legislations that conserve and protect these water bodies. And also we should have better and greener conservative methods for fishing.
So how then do we tackle the water pollution in Ruiru, or better yet, Kenya as a whole? Simply through the raising of expectations and mobilizing communities. Previous years of inaction on water pollution in Kenya have been, arguably in some part, the results of not adequately raising the expectations of the population and harnessing the potential in mobilizing local communities. This is a tragedy in that community participation is both more inclusive in theory and more effective in practice. For example, the disinfection and the consistent maintenance of water storage containers is more likely to be seen with the community's participatory water supplies than with non-community participatory water supplies. Crucially, we've uncovered that people are more willing to defend their water supplies from waterborne diseases and pathogens when they are the direct users of a community participatory water source. In conclusion, water in general is rich with the resources that always meets a substantial requirement of the world's population. The aquatic life depends on the abiotic conditions of the waters. If these constituents of any best water bodies are polluted by land-based man-made pollutants, life for humans will be affected and will carry such pollutants in its biomass. The human population may get the impact while consuming such resources. Hence, it is necessary to protect the waters by carefully discharging the treated wastewaters and effluents, clearing them from any toxic substances and heavy wastes affecting life.